hair for our sketch. In our previous lesson, we were able to fine-tune our sketch just a little bit, and so we were able to add more features like a face and some hands. And then since that lesson, in between lessons, I just kind of cleaned up our sketch and just added a little bit more detail here. And so I was able to just add a little bit more detail to the face, or worked on the eyes a little bit, and just kind of focused on, you know, some other parts of the body. And so I also added breasts for our character, and which actually for our gear, we're actually going to be, it's going to almost be like an armor-plated type of outfit. And so our character is going to be elfin, I guess, since we do have a bow, it would just kind of make sense to have like an elf-type character. And so as we draw our gear, let's actually keep these on different layers so that we can always come back and, you know, fine-tune, or if we add effects, then we can just kind of keep those, or filters I should say, keep those on different layers. And so it's a lot easier, let's say, to like draw this part of the body if we have the bow on a different layer. And so speaking of the bow, let's go ahead and start with that. Let's go ahead and make a new layer. And so you can come over here and just hit this little new tab. We'll just call this our bow. And I'm going to zoom out just a little. And let's just grab our pencil and let's make that size about 7. And for our bow, what we'll do is we're going to loosely follow our pose over here, except this is a very modern bow, and so we'll change a little bit about it. I do kind of like this shape, but we'll make it all kind of like in one piece, maybe out of wood or some other type of metal or something like that. And so what we'll do is we'll start with our hand. So make sure that we're on the right layer. Yep. All right. We'll start with our hand, and actually I'm going to increase my size just one more. And so this bow, what we want to make sure of is that when this arrow comes down, it's going to go straight through. And so about right here is about where I think that arrow would come out. So we'll just kind of curve this in, same as the rest. So it is going to be a little bit similar to this bow. Just kind of create that shape, and then down here below we'll bring that in, so you can see that this has this little notch down here where our bow actually, it would come through right here, and so that part of the bow would come out about like that. And so even our pose isn't exactly the same as our model pose, but it's okay. So then we're going to just pull this bow right through here, something like that. Let me zoom out just a little bit. And so we'll put the end of the bow about right here. So we'll just kind of come through about like that. And then for the top of the bow, we'll straighten out just a little bit, kind of like this one, just to give our character a little bit of room to measure things up. Then it'll start, kind of mirror this little side right here, and it'll just come up and around. And then I'll almost go to the very top of our illustration, so something like that. There we go. And then I'm just going to finish out that shape. There we go. So that's about what our bow will look like. Maybe I'll tweak on this just a little bit, this shape. Kind of want it to follow a little curve, which what we'll do later is we're going to use our pen tool to define some of these shapes as we kind of block in color. And so it'll be really easy to have a nice constant line that won't be all beat up from our sketching. Go ahead and delete some of that. All right, and then let's go ahead and also focus on some of our gear. Now this is all kind of going to be coming out of our imagination. You know, when you think of an archer always has some sort of like things that go over their wrists to keep their bowstring from slapping their arm. So let's go ahead and I'm going to make a new layer. We'll just call it our gear. We'll put it down here below the bow, and we can actually hide the bow for now. So let's come back over, and I'm going to actually increase my brush size a couple more points. So I'm going to be about 10. I'm just going to lightly come through here. We'll just add some details for our gear. Maybe we'll have like some sort of string that laces up about like that. Kind of follow that curve, and then we'll add one on this side also. And so she'll have some sort of gear on this side, and maybe some sort of like intricate type design that's kind of put inside. And then what else should she have? She should have her armor. So her armor will kind of like come up and protect her. And so we can have it kind of, you know, not exactly fitting, because armor is going to have a little bit of buffer between you and other things. And then this armor will kind of stick out from the chest just a little bit, and then come back in. Maybe it'll like kind of taper towards the back, something like that. And then the back is where the armor will kind of come up and like kind of stick out just a little bit from the back. But it should be like kind of like medieval or something, where it can have like ribs or something like that. And so we'll just kind of allude to that for now. We can add some more detail here in just a second. And then maybe the armor has like some little scallops or ribs. I don't quite like that one. Something like that. And then she'll need something to kind of protect her vital organs in here. After, if she's not getting hit in the heart, then maybe she needs something that will protect her stomach. And so I'm actually going to make sure none of these lines quite intersect. I don't want to create any kind of strange geometry. So I just want to show that bow where that is. Just kind of bring this back like that. I can hide my bow again. And this will almost be like woven, or some sort of meticulous leather that has a lot of detail. And so I'll just add just some little lines in it like this. And maybe it has like little ribs, in the leather itself. Something like that. That'd be cool. And then she'll need some sort of belt. So we'll give her a belt. And it should maybe sling down just a little, like that. You can just kind of thicken that in, about like that. And then she'll need some sort of gear down here. So like if she's in a bow fight with someone, she doesn't want an arrow hitting her, that femoral artery in her leg. And so she'll need some sort of like armor plates down here. So we'll give that to her. She deserves armor plates, right? So we'll just, maybe she'll need some some sort of straps that will keep these armor plates on. About like that. Then one right down the middle. There we go. And then we can actually increase the brush size, so I'll just kind of darken this in, just so we can kind of tell what's going on. Because I do want to add a little bit of detail to this sketch, or to our gear sketch. So what I can do is I can hit X, remember, and I can toggle, and then I can like add just a little bit of detail to the armor, about like that, and then maybe it comes down the other side like that, almost like mimics leaves or something. And then, oh yeah, since I'm using white, I can also add, like, what if she has like a little belt buckle or something? So I like to toggle in between my foreground and background palette colors, just hitting X, and that allows me to quickly go back to those other colors, or go back to my foreground and background. So now I can add this plate, and so I can allude to that shape just like this, and come up, and then it'll be off the leg just a little. We can fill this one in too, about like that. And then just the way I sketch that in, you can actually kind of make out the way the texture would be. And we'll bring that strap straight down, and then the other strap will come through, and then the third middle strap, something like that. And then she'll need boots, of course. So maybe she'll have like an archer type of boot. I don't know what an archer type of boot is, but maybe it's kind of tall and, you know, protects her a little bit. And then you can actually, maybe it'll have like a two-tone type of boot, and it'll come through, and there'll be like, you know, a little bit of wrinkles in the boot because it'll be leather, and so it'll maybe bunch up a little bit at the ankles. Then maybe it even has some type of texture to it or something. We can work on that a little bit later. But this part of the boot, go ahead and hatch that in. So we'll do the same for this leg. I'll give her a boot. I'll increase that brush size. I'm just hitting the end bracket to increase, and I can hit the begin bracket to decrease that brush size. Just bring this up. Let's take a look and make sure that we have about the same length for our boot pieces here. Something like that. We'll hatch in some texture. And then remember our bottom boot is leather, and so it will it'll have a little bit of texture to it, and then, you know, we can add some wrinkles in when we're doing color, stuff like that. Looks pretty good. And then let's also focus on maybe we'll add just a little bit of texture and decrease that a little bit to our wrist bracelets. Kind of go in. Actually, I'm going to hit X, toggle. I'm just going to add, like, allude to a little bit of texture here, and then go back to my stitches and put those in. And then for our other wrist, go ahead and add a little bit of texture here. I'm going to decrease my brush size even more. And then we can just kind of allude to some texture, about like that. And then let's block in some hair. this time I'm going to increase my brush size, and one thing I'm going to do though is I'm going to create a new layer, Control Shift N will make a new layer, and then actually that would be behind the bow. And for this, what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of, maybe she has some flowing hair, so we'll just kind of create that shape. I'm going to start down here along the hairline that we've kind of created, but I would like her to have some braids or something that come off. And so let's think about the shape of her hair. So I do want it to be kind of big, so we'll kind of create some shapes here first. We can kind of squiggle those in. Maybe it's just like crazy curly hair, something like that. Maybe comes up, and then maybe there's like a extra piece or two that kind of comes up also. And so we'll have like, let's take a look at our bow, make sure we don't run into that. So maybe it comes out, almost touches our bow, kind of comes out like that. But then we have some little pieces that come down, and maybe this is where like she has some dreadlocks or some sort of braids that come down as well. Something like that. How about that? Awesome. So then we can, later on we can focus on the exact shape that we're going to have here. Great. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and stop here, but we're going to, in between the next lesson, I'm just going to add and just kind of focus on a little bit more detail and kind of finish up our gear sketches a little bit. And so now that we have our idea of what we want for our gear for our character, and then in our next lesson we're actually going to start blocking in color for our hero. So stick around.